Welcome to House Education on April 21st, 2026. The committee is doing two things in the next hour or so. We're going to do just a quick review to refresh ourselves on S214. And then we're going to sort of move into, we're going to spend a little time this week. So for some of us re-educating and for some of our new folks educating, just some of the basics of sort of school governance. And then today, and then on Friday, I'm having JFO come in to talk to us about like, what is the yield and the yield bill and what do all those words mean and how's it calculated? So anyway, we will begin now with just sort of reviewing our one-page S214. I'm talking with the Speaker's office about sort of what order or what to do with all the three bills we have here. So we've got immigration protocols, we've got libraries, and we have this one about pre-K in the NEK. I think we may, if we're feeling comfortable, vote out the immigration protocols one today because that we are amending it, and so it should go back to the Senate. So that's important to get that one out. The library one. Well, I may have this. No, get back.
Library.
No, library one is what we got today.
Okay. All right. I was like, whoa.
Yeah, which I don't think we are changing.
Okay.
And we're going to do more about the other one tomorrow.
Get it out.
And then we do that as well. We don't want it to be all education all the time on the House floor. All right. Well, thank you for being with us, Beth, to just do a quick review of S214. It should take 2 to 3 minutes, I imagine. And then we'll look much more looking forward to your presentation on school governance.
St. James Office of Legislative Counsel. So we're going to walk through S214 as passed by the Senate. As soon as my computer cooperates. Here we go. So S214 is an act relating to the provision of pre-K in geographically isolated school districts. So this is an amendment to section 829 of Title 16, which is the pre-K statute. And on line 7, these 3 asterisks represent all of current law in 829. So this bill does not amend anything in current law or change anything in current law. It adds a new subsection to the very end of the statute that says, notwithstanding any provision of law to the contrary, the NEK choice school district may provide pre-K to eligible pre-K students by paying tuition pursuant to this section to one or more pre-K programs operated by a public school in New Hampshire that is located in a school district within 25 miles of the Vermont border. The Essex North Supervisory Union shall be responsible for administering enrollment procedures and managing pre-K tuition payments pursuant to this section and state board rules. The superintendent may apply for and receive a waiver from the agencies of any rule provision that is impractical for the NEK choice school district or the New Hampshire program by demonstrating that a substantially equivalent provision is offered. This is language that was drafted and plunked right in here as a collaboration between AOE, DCF, and then consultation with the school district with NEK choice school district. This would take effect on July 1, 2026.
It came up earlier and I have forgotten, but why or what kind of waiver might be sought? Was it a
So because this language was the result of folks going home, getting together, and then bringing it forward, I wasn't privy to those conversations. My understanding of the need for this language in general is that the way our pre-K, the way the publicly funded pre-K statute is written is that you are only eligible for Act 166 funds, which is this statute, if you are pre-qualified. And pre-qualification means you meet a whole bunch of different criteria, including Vermont licensed teachers and following the Vermont early learning standards, among other things. Those are Vermont specific, right? New Hampshire schools have their own licensing and learning standards. And so this is just a guess, but that would be some of the provisions were waivers, right? If you're a New Hampshire teacher and licensure is substantially similar, perhaps that would be something you would seek a waiver. That is my understanding of why the folks in this school district are having trouble accessing publicly funded pre-K in New Hampshire right now. Whether that is what is exactly contemplated by the folks who put this language together, I can't speak to.
That makes a lot of sense. Does anybody have any further questions?
That's one quickly, the 25 miles. Was that, do you know if that was any specific reason why it's 25 miles?
I only have one page in here.
And-
I think there was different, like slightly different language here, in different versions of this draft. So I do believe it means something. I don't want to speak out of turn. I think that would be a question for the folks who worked on this language. I think generally speaking, the goal with this language, which is really something for your Senate counterparts to breathe life into, was to allow students in any K choice to access pre-K in the public schools they would be going to in K through 12. And so that 25-mile perimeter, my understanding was that was a general sense of where they would have been going K through 12.
Thank you, that helps. I only bring it up because that's a long way.
Yeah,
And just.
everything's a long way up there.
I was just saying, if it's not in any K choice, it's not.
Please, go ahead.
Is the NEK the only area in Vermont that we have to worry about tuitioning across the border? Because it's so rural, is there anything, say down south, or is it just the NEK?
So in this case, this is only the NEK school choice district, which is a distinct school district. And, and they operate no schools.
Oh,
And so I think it's sort of to recognize that they are a unique situation, that there are no public schools there in which to operate a public pre-K.
is there anything else that we need to consider as far as area? Is this going to be super localized, or is there another district or SU that we should include in this, and not just any?
I would say this is pretty super localized and really the only place where people have asked for it, frankly.
Just in the answer though, to the sort of other part that has nothing to do with this bill, Pownell is a place that has a lot of questions about Massachusetts in terms of things that.
Yeah, we definitely have on all borders, the state borders, we have schools that tuition to public schools out of state.
I think Pownell is on.
Yeah.
That up in the- That's what I've heard.
In our area, it's a thing. Grand Isle County, some people go for Plattsburgh,
Okay. And they don't have issues with tuitioning.
but it's high school.
Yeah, it's not a pre-K thing.
Yes. Thank you.
All right, unless there are any other questions, we'll set that aside for the moment and we'll go into my favorite course that I've taken here, School Governance 101.
Yet I keep giving it.
One of these days we'll get it. I know what that feeling is.
I bring, this was an idea born from discussions that are being had elsewhere in the building over education transformation, that it's good that we're all well grounded in what's a school district, what's a supervisory union. In the bill we just looked at, it spoke about both a school district and a supervisory union, for example.
Okay. School Governance 101. I have not made any updates to this presentation since I gave it to you January of last year. So to the extent that there were typos I identified or mistakes, I haven't fixed any of them. So we're gonna start, and remember, I'm a lawyer, I'm not a clip artist or graphic designer. Cannot for the life of me figure out how to get rid of this box.
It looks great.
We're gonna focus on the shaded in shapes. So supervisory unions, red, school districts, blue, schools, black, okay? What is a supervisory union? First thing I would point out about and this is the definition from Title 16. Part of the definition of Title 16. Supervisory unions, so we're using the term education governance loosely in our conversations about education transformation and H 955, et cetera. Supervisory unions are not governance units. They are administrative, planning, and educational service units created by the state board. Their boards are publicly elected in that their boards are made up of their member school board members, but they are not separately elected just to serve on a supervisory union board. Supervisory unions have no taxing capacity. They do not set under state law. I think that there are variations in how this is carried out in the state. But according to the black and white letters in Title 16, supervisory unions and superintendents are responsible for the procedures. And school districts are the policy folks. School districts set the educational policies for their school districts. I think there are some supervisory unions that see all of their school districts and all of their kids as one. And even if they are separate school districts, the supervisory union is kind of leading the charge on setting SU-wide policies. But under state law, it is a school district that is ultimately responsible for those policies. So supervisory unions are made up of, supervisory unions can be made up of multiple school districts or just one school district. So over on the left, right? Yeah. You have a supervisory union, which has multiple blue squares in there. Those are school districts. So that's a supervisory union. It's made up of more than one school district. A supervisory district is a supervisory union that is the administrative, planning, and educational service unit created by the state board for one school district. Supervisory unions have specific statutory duties. They're supposed to be setting the supervisory union-wide curriculum. They handle the receipt and disbursement of federal and state funds distributed by AOE. They're responsible for professional development, special education services, and a lot of what we think of as the business services. Procurement, management of construction projects, negotiation of teacher contracts, transportation. They're your central office. There are other duties. I did not specifically enumerate them, but anything with an underline is a hot link and it'll take you right to that statute. Are we all straight on the difference between a supervisory union and a supervisory district?
I think we should ask a question though, of the committee,
Right.
can a supervisory district also be a supervisory union? Yes or no?
It's just like the whiskey
Yes,
bourbon.
it's a
thing,
whiskey
right?
bourbon.
It is.
Yes, Brett Long is correct. Say it louder.
It is a supervisor.
Yes. So in order to avoid confusion, when I'm talking about school districts or supervisory unions, I try really hard not to say SD. What does SD mean, right? Or supervisory district.
Right.
They're the same letters. That can get really confusing depending on the context you're using it in. Because if you're talking about the duties or the powers, they're going to be two different things.
I would say for the most part, other than when talking about specific legislative language, we don't really use the term supervisory district much.
School districts. These are your education governance units. And this is the title in this is the definition in Title 16, which is basically just a list of all the different types of school districts. So town school districts, union school districts, interstate school districts, city school districts, unified union school districts, and incorporated school districts. And then this is the kind of important part there. Each of which is governed by a publicly elected board. There are at least one of each type of these school districts in existence today. You still have at least one, maybe two incorporated school districts, which were chartered essentially by the legislature. Winooski is the one that I can think of, and I think there may be one down in the Bennington area. So there are several different types of school districts. And those types of school districts are dependent on certain things. What's the number of towns the school district serves? Is it one town? If it's one town, then it's either a town school district, a city school district, or an incorporated school district. Because by definition, a union school district serves more than two or more towns.
Just for, what is Milton considered? One town,
My thought would be it's an SD, but also an SU because it's the only, right, it's the only, it's just one town and we do policy, we do procedure, but it's just one town. That's my SUSD because it's one town and then it would be within the supervisory district, which would just be Milton and we have the elected board.
how,
That's my thought. Is that?
how would we?
Well, now that we're in sort of the subcategories, Milton,
Or
I'm not sure if it's incorporated or not. I don't know the answer to that, but it's at least a town school.
school
Town school district.
with a school district, but could also be a part of a supervisory district because of the graphic on the previous page.
Okay.
I'm gonna keep quiet.
You're right, you're right.
Perfect.
Okay. So multiple towns, so the incorporated school districts, I really think there are only one, if not two, and that's Winooski. The charters for all, I don't think there's any charters left other than Winooski and maybe one in the Bennington area. Everyone else that's a single town is either a town or a city school district, is my understanding. Which means they have articles of agreement or some sort of bylaws or some sort of governing document that they created independent of the legislature. The legislature created the charter for Winooski. And there were many, many charters that eventually we will need to clean up because they're still on the books after Act 46. There's an entire appendix. There's a Title 16 appendix that's all charters. And there are some charters that live in Title 24 appendix, which is your municipal charters. And some school district charters, there are provisions that are like baked into the city or town charter. So super fun to untangle eventually. Okay. What are the grades the school district is organized to provide education for? So if it's organized to provide all grades pre-K through 12, if it serves multiple towns, it's a unified union school district, which is what you asked in 955 your study committees to consider forming. If it is organized to provide some subset of all grades, and it serves multiple towns, then it's a union elementary school district or a union high school district, depending on the grade range. And there are some towns that are town school districts that are organized to provide elementary education, and then they are members of a union high school district for the high school education of their resident students. They may, and that union high school district may have tuitioning, but the town school district itself is not organized to provide for the education in 9 through 12 or 7 through, whatever it is. So it's not there is a large variation. You can't tell just by whether it is a union elementary school district, a union high school district, or a town school district, what grades it is organized to provide education for. If it is a unified union school district, it's all grades.
Right, Emily.
Oh, no.
So explain then, I'm not going to say a word, but I'm going to say, so explain the modified, unified union.
Oh,
I could,
a mud. Mud.
Do we still have one or two of those?
Yeah.
Mine is.
Yeah. I knew I should have brought my little orange book with me.
It's when,
I think a modified union, I'm gonna butcher this, and perhaps Rep. Long can correct me when I get to the butchering part. A modified unified union school district is almost all of the towns that are members are part of it for pre-K through 12. And there is one or two towns that's a part of it for only some subset of grades. And then they are either providing their own education or are part of a union elementary or high school district, whatever that is. Is that
or
relative?
now tuition. And that's my district, it's Wyndham, they are part of the Union High School District, so that's why they're part of the Unified Union School District, but they got permission to remain separate. State Board of Education and agency, to operate their own separate elementary school because they were geographically isolated. Since then, they have closer school, but it's still a modified unified union school district. There might be another one or two.
Yeah.
Mount Mansfield isn't anymore.
No, they're a.
Unified.
Yeah.
Joined up with the-
It used to be. the-
Slate Valley was also a mod, but Orwell came in.
Right.
So it does, it's even more complicated than my slides would suggest.
Yeah.
No, it's a great point. It's a great point. Another reminder that there is a lot of variation out there. And then how a school district provides for the education of its students in whatever subset of grades it's organized to provide for. They're either operating, tuitioning, or a combination of both. You can't always tell, some town school districts tuition, some town school districts operate, some unified union school districts tuition everyone, right? So you can't tell just by the type of school district it is how they provide for the education of their resident students. So here are some of the powers of school boards. Again, this is a hot link to the statute. This is not everything in the statute, but these are kind of the big topics that I think we have in this room talked about the most. So school boards are responsible for setting the policies, the educational policy of the school district. My favorite one here is may take any action that is required for the sound administration of the school district. They shall have the possession, care, control, management, and property of the district. They keep the buildings in good repair. They have the discretion to administer early education programs, may relocate or discontinue use of a schoolhouse or facility subject to applicable law. They set the budgets. They can execute contracts. And then this one, shall exercise the general powers given to a legislative branch municipality. You'll notice that that language does not exist in supervisory unions. So union school districts, these are just the two different types of, not the two different types, they are two types of union school districts. So union elementary and union high school districts. You've got Town A, which is its own town school district, and it operates pre-K through 6. Town B is its own town school district. It operates grades pre-K through 6. And Town C is its own school district and operates grades pre-K through 6. And then Town A, Town B, and Town C are all members of the Union High School District that operates grades 7 through 12 in a building that just so happens to be located in Town C. And then the Unified Union School District is real easy.
I just would point out that each one of those districts has a school board, an elected school board.
Yes, so over here, under the Union Elementary and Union High School District, how many school boards are represented here? Correct. How many towns are represented here? Okay, so unified union school districts, all one school district. Those town, for the purposes of thinking about the school district as a municipality, those town and city lines go away. It's one municipality. The schools can be anywhere, they can operate, they can tuition.
One
One
school.
board.
One board, yes.
Right, I was
So
gonna say,
I had a quick question. So on the left, the 4 school boards that we see, the purple, green, orange, red, that's 4 separately elected school boards.
Correct.
Okay.
And likely for administrative offices, for superintendents.
Oh, that's a great question.
Probably not.
Probably all within one SU.
Probably all.
we usually look at one.
Yeah.
So looking at the main difference between the two options, the difference between them has nothing to do with where and how kids are going to school. It's the governance level of management. Am I right or wrong on that?
Yeah, it all
I
depends
mean,
on the
for these
rules of
two,
operation.
we're assuming these are the same two situations.
Yes.
School in town A, school in town B, elementary school and high school in town C. Same buildings, same kids, same towns.
If,
If,
unless,
what we're doing is comparing these as being the same situation.
yeah,
It's not too
but
different.
the rules sort of go away in terms of where the town line is.
Right.
If I could just say, I think it's really important to understand that it's not just that there's 4 boards and 1 board. It's that Act 46 made a lot of those on the left into those on the right.
Correct.
That's, and I know a lot of people are unhappy with Act 46, but there was collaboration between communities to create what we see on the right, which is unified union school districts. And to go to Rep. Quimby's point, as districts have grappled with declining enrollment, conversations are happening in the unit on the right a lot more often than they did when they were like the unit on the left. And around whether a school can stay open or whether it's best to keep a school open, because when you're in the district on the right, often there is intra-district choice amongst those schools. So if there's space, they can move. And so in my area with the decline in enrollment, I've seen a lot more movement toward reconfiguring the buildings and maybe even reducing the number of buildings because there is more flexibility under one unit as the one on the right. So I just think it's really important to understand the difference between the two. We rarely talked about that when we were separate districts, but when we became one, suddenly that was a viable discussion and was welcome.
Part of the debate also is like SUs are more complicated and all of that. And you can see on the left, each one of those entities has its own set of books, has its own contract, negotiates things differently. Staff can't move from one color to another easily. So that's one of the big differences that's worth noting as we have the SUSD discussion. There.
First example, the rest of the slides are examples. Central Vermont Supervisory Union. So the blue squares represent
School
school
districts.
districts. And what does this lovely red oval represent?
Advisory.
Right. So we've got 2 school districts here, Echo Valley and Payne Mountain. Or Echo Valley. Echo Valley operates the Washington Village School, pre-K through 4. The Orange Center School, 5 through 8. And then tuition's grades 9 through 12. It is organized to provide pre-K through 12. And it is made up of 2 towns, right? Orange and Washington. So what type of a school district is Echo Valley?
Union,
Kind of a union.
unified.
Payne Mountain School District, Northfield and Williamstown. Northfield Elementary, pre-K through 5, operated. Also operated Williamstown Elementary, pre-K through 5. Also operates Northfield Middle and High School 6 through 12 and Williamstown Middle and High School 6 through 12. So same, and this is also a unified union school district, right? They're organized to provide pre-K through 12. They operate all grades. made up of more than one school district or a member town, so it's a union school district. So we've got a unified union school district. And so this is just highlighting how you can have different, same type of school district, but they're providing for their resident students differently. And they're all under one superintendent, the Central Vermont Supervisory Union. And it's a supervisory union because multiple school districts. But then we have Milton. And Rep Long was correct. So Milton is the Milton Supervisory District. It's one town. It's organized to provide pre-K through grade 12. It does that by operating those 3 schools, an elementary, a middle, and a high school. And the state board has made a determination. The Milton School District is going to keep an SU busy enough that they can be its own administrative planning unit.
Question, so even though it says supervisory district, but that big red oval suggests.
It is so every school district in this state belongs to a supervisory union.
Okay.
Because that's why I keep stressing the fact that supervisory unions and school districts have different responsibilities and powers under state law. If you were to do away with the concept of supervisory unions, you would have to reallocate some of those duties and responsibilities.
Right.
Some of them, it would be like, do we really need to spell this out? And some of it would be, you really have to spell this out, specifically related to special education is what I'm thinking of, and what's an LEA and who's responsible for it, et cetera. So every school district is a member of a supervisory union. And if a school district is the only member of its supervisory union, then it is a supervisory district.
So is the local education agency for purposes of federal grants or whatever is always the SU, right? The LEA is never a school district?
I can't say never. I know for special education, the LEA is the supervisory union. And I don't know where else. LEA is states can decide what level of governance qualifies as an LEA. So it varies from state to state. Like in some states, BOCES can be LEAs. And some of that has to do with the ability to receive federal funds and things. But there's trade-offs, right? Then that means that there's certain responsibilities. So I can't say it's never another unit of governance. When we're thinking about special education, it's always the supervisory union.
This is a quick question for your feedback. I hate that we have supervisory and supervisory district. I think it's always been complicated and confusing, and I know we can't do away with supervisory for everything you said. But what if we did away with the term supervisory district? And it would be just a one-town supervisory union. Everybody's confused about it all the time and always has been.
I think it's very worth pointing out that under the draft map that a member of this committee put on the table,
We don't
we've done
have.
away with a lot of this terminology and confusion.
It's important. I mean, I'm actually serious about it. It is important to simplify this, and I think that does complicate it. And legally, I'm not sure whether that's an issue.
Well, let's look at the definitions. I'd have to think through that.
It's that I just put it on the table and we can keep on. I just think so.
Let's look at, so we've got the definition of supervisory union is what I read to you all before, an administrative planning and educational service unit. That consists of 2 or more school districts. And if the context clearly allows, the term also means a supervisory district. So if you got rid of everything after section 261 of this title, and you struck supervisory district, then I think you could do it. What are the unintended consequences of that? I'd have to think through. I don't know that there are any.
Thanks.
Okay. So everyone's real straight on all of this, no problems. Okay. Then we get to Southwest Vermont Supervisory Union, which is made up of 5 school districts. They are all different types of school districts. They are all organized to provide for different grades, and they all provide that education differently. So you've got an elementary school district. You've got operating, you've got non-operational, you've got non-operational pre-K through 12. You've got, I'm gonna just let this speak for itself of how complicated it can get. And all of these school districts are under one superintendent, one administrative planning unit, one central office, one supervisory unit.
I wonder what this all looked like in this district pre-Act 46.
That is all I have for you.
All right, this is a good time to ask questions about this. If you got any confusion whatsoever.
Let's go over. We start at the
You
beginning.
know, I mean, you've seen on the floor, but also just in our own caucuses, confusion, like his legislation tends to only use the term supervisory union. Meaning also a supervisory district. And so people are like, oh, well, so this bill is all in favor of SUs. Well, no, in this, the case of 955 SU, this means either a regular old SU as we think of it, or an SD, or a supervisory district. Or a town school district that operates all grades.
Keep going, more in a month.
Yes. Representative Brady.
Sense of how it's compared to other states. So
Oh, yeah, I'm
this
sorry.
variation, I'm sure there was an ECS.
Maine's probably the best comparison because they've got SAEs or SAUs.
Certainly, when it comes to tuitioning, Maine is the only other state in the country with a comparable tuitioning system. New Hampshire, kind of, but Maine, very similar.
All right, if there are no other questions, we will be adjourned until 2:30 for our next.